There is so much in this documentary I learned about Tesco. I did not know the amount of political influence Tesco had at one point. Guys, keep watching and I'm going to tell you about it in a very simple way. Hi my people, so today on YouTube I watched the documentary. Old documentary warned us about Tesco. Make sure you guys follow me, as every single day I post about interesting documentaries and news stories that nobody else is talking about. Now, considering this documentary was made in 2007, it did introduce a lot of problems, but it didn't explain the issues properly, and that is why I am here to do that. So funnily enough, before 1995, Sainsbury's was the biggest supermarket in the UK, but Tesco managed to push it out of the water. Now, the problem with Tesco is it had a lot of political influence. The CEO, his name was Terry Leahy, he was knighted by Tony Blair, and he would even fundraise a lot of political events for the Labour Party, and Labour was in power at this time. He even fundraised one of their biggest projects, which was a flop, the Millennium Dome. So this is where my issue lies. It came to a point where Tesco was almost becoming bigger than government. The government would set out policies to protect towns and say that Tesco should only build, or supermarkets should only build their buildings in town centres. Now, the reason the government made this policy is because when Tesco starts to build their supermarkets or their shops in local areas, it definitely drives out small businesses. It also kills the high street because it stops people from travelling to the high street to buy things at Tesco. Instead, everything is local. Now, many businesses flop because of this. Many high streets fail. But Tesco managed to campaign against this rule and continue building anyhow. Every second you looked, there was a new Tesco. Tesco, 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 Tesco. Even if constituents were against it, a lot of people were against Tesco, because it causes disruption. It's very loud. They have late night delivery. It takes away parking from local residents. Very often lorries would park on the road because the parking is so limited, which is very, very dangerous, and people would have nowhere to pass. Someone was saying he even nearly got hit by a lorry because the Tesco was pulling up on the pavement whilst he was with his kids. Many constituents will appeal against Tesco's being built. Even a Liverpool councillor was campaigning on behalf of his constituency, saying we don't want a Tesco here, and they tried to appeal the fact that Tesco wanted to start building in that local area, but they were advised to not bother appealing because Tesco could go to court and say, no, listen, we're going to build. And that would cost the council, the Liverpool council, up to £250,000, £250,000 to win against Tesco. And the council just doesn't have that money. So Tesco was seen to bully a lot of councils and force it upon councils that, listen, we don't care about no policy. We must build here. And think about it. Tesco had very close ties to people in politics higher up. Tony Blair was like their best friend. They can easily say, listen, we'll fundraise for one of your events. Let us build here. We don't care if it's against your policy. Tesco was pushing out competition. The problem with this documentary, it didn't explain the problem. When you push out competition, first of all, that means if there are only Tesco's everywhere, the prices are going to be incredibly high, because where else are you going to shop? You've got no choice to shop but Tesco. Another thing, farmers, small manufacturers. If Tesco is like a monopoly, if they're the biggest supermarket, they're the only supermarket almost. What that means is that farmers will have to sell their stuff for very little prices because they're desperate. The only buyer they have coming forward is Tesco, or the biggest buyer they have coming forward is Tesco. So farmers, small manufacturers complained about selling their products at unsustainable prices because Tesco would just take the mick. Tesco gave big roles to people from the government at the time, people from the cabinet. It's absolutely crazy when you think about it. When there was obesity in 2005, obesity was rising. The government introduced a rule, a recommendation that supermarkets, companies put a flag system which helps stop obesity. So basically green, orange and red to tell you how bad your food is. Research has shown that this does very well for customers. Customers will not give in and buy very fatty foods a lot of the times if you put a warning on it. Tesco refused. They said they did their own research, which was an absolute bunch of rubbish, let me say. And they said, we're going to go via our system. They would make themselves look good by saying, I think in 2005, they teamed up with Frank Lampard. Again, obesity was going on. And they said that they were going to give footballs to school. However, to be able to get a football, parents would have to spend £2,200 for one football in one school. To get laptop, parents would have to spend £250,000 to get one laptop at one school, £1 million to get a trampoline. Tesco was very involved politically. They were very, very bothered. They were very conscious about their image. Parents would look at it and think, oh my gosh, Tesco are doing such an amazing job, when really and truly they're clutching at straws. They're just trying to make their store look so good so they could take over. It's very, very concerning, because when you think about it, you have Tesco Bank, you have Tesco Funeral Care, you have Tesco Fuel. They're branching out everywhere. What happens when there's Tesco Cars? cars, Tesco houses. I think you could get mortgages through Tesco's. I'm not sure. But when you could get everything from Tesco, one point it could be a monopoly. This is an old documentary. Some things still apply. You still see Tesco's driving out businesses today. The major difference is there are big pressures. Tesco's have been fined for breaking certain laws. You had Tesco avoiding tax to pay stamp duty because they will create, I really hate this, but they will create fake silly businesses. They needed to go into detail more about what these businesses were. But they would create tax havens in is it Cayman Island, in Jersey, where they would literally put their money there. Tesco could afford to pay for lawyers to basically run through legal loopholes so they don't pay stamp duty, which basically deprived the treasury of up to £45 million. Us regular human beings, we buy a house, we have to pay stamp duty. Tesco can afford the lawyers not to do. Really annoying, because what do you mean you've opened a store in the Cayman Islands called Tesco Pink, Tesco Fuchsia? Companies are known for doing this. When I did my review on Johnson's & Johnson's, they were even worse. Johnson's & Johnson's will go and open some poxy company in some next state so that whenever they got debts, these are the people that create baby powder. Whenever they got debts, because they were getting sued a lot because their products were seen or there was a direct link with their products and causing ovarian cancer in women. When they saw they were getting sued all the time, guess what? They would open up subsidiaries, new small companies that they don't use, and as soon as they start getting debts, they push them onto that fake company they've just made in whatever state they've made. And then they close down the company, and when they close down the companies, the debts go with it. We will see what it holds, Tesco holds for the future, but I have many Tesco's in my area. How crazy are these companies? And when a company has so much power like this, it is concerning. Oh my gosh, I think you could walk 15 minutes and you could, no, let's say even 20 minutes. I don't know miles. And you can find about 7 Tesco's. Many small businesses like Londis, Cost Cutter, losing all their customers because of it.